Helpless, caught in a rut, not able to move beyond your current level of fitness no matter how much you try. Well, our next guest is credited with helping thousands of people break out of their old habits and change their lives. He is Mack Newton, a sought-after motivational speaker who's appeared more than 300 times on television and radio, including ABC Evening News with Peter Jennings, CNN, and ESPN, just to name a few shows. Mr. Newton has a new book out called The D Factor, a user's manual to help you realize your dreams. And we want to welcome Mack Newton to Sonora Living. I'm almost intimidated to be sitting next to you. Did you notice my level of energy is up so much higher since you walked on the set?
Well, yes, I have, as a matter of fact.
It is nice to have you here.
Nice
it really
to meet you, too.
I know all about you. And for those who don't know you, you're missing out. But how do you become a motivational speaker? How do you make people want to listen to you, Mack?
I don't know. It kind of happened by accident. I'm a martial artist by trade. I started teaching Taekwondo about 25, 30 years ago, and teaching children and developing the ability to communicate. And for some reason, it seems that the kids, if I told stories, they seem to understand more of what I was trying to get them to do, rather than just demonstrating the techniques and being very dry. And I think that was the beginning of it. And actually, one of my students started working for Brian Tracy and said, you know what, Brian Tracy is a worldwide motivational speaker, and he's saying the exact same things that you say every day in class.
So you said, what the heck, I can do this too.
Actually, that's exactly how it happened, and I just started and gone from there.
Well, and here's another book out. I've got both of these in my, is this all, or do you have a couple more?
I have one other. My first book is called A Path to Power, A Master's Guide to Conquering Crisis. Actually, that book I wrote to sort of get rid of all the, it was sort of like a way of emptying my heart about all the fears and doubts I had about my past and my childhood. And I just wrote that as a way of sort of a cathartic event for myself to, so I could go on with the rest of my life. And it seemed that people really enjoyed and were inspired and were encouraged, said, well, you know what, if he can do that, then I can do it too. And then they kept inspiring me to write other books.
So we've got the recipe book, and then we've got the D Factor, your latest one.
That's my latest one.
Okay, and there's these 4 Ds that you need to talk about.
Yes. Well, the 4 Ds, it's, in other words, the D Factor really is how to do things differently. In fact, I was on a show with a fellow who said, you know, when I was in school, I had trouble getting past the letter D when I learned the alphabet. And A, B, C, and so what he did was he learned it backwards. So in other words, he did it the exact opposite of what everyone else did. And it became the D Factor. And as I sat there talking to him, and that's where the inspiration came for the title. Well, the 4 Ds, the first is desire. You have to want something very, very badly in order to have change come about. The second is to make a decision, is to decide to lose the weight, to decide to finish your education, to decide to be different than you've been. And the third is to stay on it, determination. That's an active factor. That's where you're actually starting to take action and do something, And the third is discipline, and the fourth is discipline. To do what you should do, when you should do it, whether you like it or not.
And that's the hardest part.
That's probably the master key of all these 4 factors.
Now, you have a lot of celebrities who follow you, that you kind of motivate and train and go through the... how often do you meet with them, and do you drop names?
I love dropping names. I'm a master at dropping names. Well, okay, there's Bo Jackson, and there's Neil Lomax and Roy Green, some of the local people. Nationally, there's Joe Namath, and just lots and lots of people who've come in to me around, mostly for physical training. Aeneas Williams, who used to play with the Cardinals here. Just so many different athletes in baseball, basketball, and football primarily.
But these people just need the extra motivation. They need kind of like a little helpmate, a kick in the butt.
Well, actually, I don't see myself so much as a motivational speaker as I see myself as someone who inspires themselves to motivate themselves.
Yeah, because desire and discipline and dedication, that has to come from within.
And I think I have set myself up kind of as an example, especially to a professional athlete, because at one point, I was a world champion in Taekwondo. After I came back from Vietnam, where I'd been severely injured, in fact, lost a great deal of my body. In fact, I have 2 artificial hips now.
Wow.
And over 10 pounds of metal in my body. And so when these athletes they're listening to the adversity I've overcome, and then they apply it to their talent, all of a sudden they feel that if they had the same sort of motivation or drive that I did, they'd be more successful, and you know what? They're right.
What's your greatest accomplishment, in your opinion?
Oh my, what a question. I don't know if I've ever been asked that. I think just, in some ways, just being here. I mean, my mom died when she was 15 years old when I was born. And I always kind of grew up feeling rejected, growing up in foster homes. And I never thought that I would live past 30 years old, especially after Vietnam. So the fact that I'm here and a contributing member to society, and you're talking to me about my books, and that to me is my most, I think, that my biggest accomplishment.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who feel unloved and that they don't matter and that no one's really out there looking after them.
Yes.
And I didn't know that about your past. And I think that you've overcome all that. I can see why people are inspired by you and that you're sitting here and that you've accomplished what you want. Or maybe you haven't yet. Do you still, what do you have down the road for you in 5 years?
Well, you know, I just recently started playing guitar. And you know what? Playing guitar made me smarter, learning the language of music. And I want to develop other areas. In other words, like I say in this book here, open more of your gifts. Don't just think that the one thing you can do is your only talent. Look around yourself. Other things, you may have many gifts, and then develop the courage to open those gifts. So for me, I mean, the sky is the limit. I don't feel now imprisoned by what I perceived as my limitations of the past.
I love to hear that. And it's so neat that you're taking guitar, because when I talk to people at small groups, I always say, go take piano.
Exactly.
Go take a voice lesson.
Absolutely.
Do something that you didn't realize you could do, because just because you haven't learned it since, you know, or have never been encouraged to succeed in that area before does not mean your life is over.
You know what is really, one thing I need to add is that it's particularly rewarding when you're able to succeed in an area where you failed at previously. That really makes you think that you truly can do anything.
Amen. Mack Newton, we are so glad to have you. In the book, The D Factor. Pick it up, available all over the place.
Actually, it's only available on my website, macknewton.com.
Well, let's make sure we mention that again, all right? There's also Newton Fitness.
Yes, over in Indian School in 32nd Street.
Yeah, do you have them there by any chance?
Yes, we do. They're available right there on 32nd Street in Indian School.
All right, we'd love to hear it. And all that information on our website as well, if you are still looking after clicking on that website. It shouldn't be a problem. Hey, thank you. You come back anytime. Mack Newton, so glad to have him. All right, Mack.